The government's going to meet with the state leaders next week in National Cabinet to address housing. How confident are you that a deal can be done on boosting supply?
It is absolutely critical. What I think is critical to come out of next week's meeting is firstly protections for renters. I have already over almost 50% of my community are renters, and that's they're having a very difficult time right now. So how can you improve renters' right is absolutely critical, but also housing supply. It was really worrying that in a couple of months ago we had the lowest housing approval for a number of years, and this is a time where increasing supply is absolutely critical. So I'm calling on the government to use the money in the federal government to really incentivise the states to make fundamental changes to planning and zoning laws, because unless those laws get passed, unless we have fundamental change to planning and zoning, this is just going to be an aspiration of increasing more housing. We're just not going to get it.
Okay, just back on when you said there about renters' rights and you want those improved, what are you suggesting there, a freeze?
No, not at all. I mean, I think a freeze is, the Greens' policy of a freeze, frankly, is policy that sounds good, but in practice would really prevent us growing housing, and that is what we really need to do. And the growth in housing is not just in the cities; it's also in rural areas. I've got one of my crossbench colleagues from a regional area saying that in her area they still can't build enough housing, even though there's plenty of land. So I think that the issue really here is actually sort of zoning and making sure that we're really focused on actually building housing. And I think rent freezes can really prevent that, and that's why I'm fundamentally against them.
Okay, if you're away from, I hope you can still hear me with your earpiece that's popped out. There we go. If there's no freeze on rents, I mean, what is a right? What is one right that you want renters to have that they don't have now?
Look, I think in terms of evictions, better rights in terms of evictions, and also in terms of rights in terms of longer leases. People come to a place, they want to put down some more roots, and I think that we should be looking to extend, people's lease terms so that they can stay for longer. I think those are two really important rights that we should be looking at.
Okay, yeah, so much of this falls on the state, so we've spoken about this in the past too, and the Minns government, it's looking at suburbs including Camellia, Everleigh, Parramatta, St Leonard's, not in your electorate, Allegra, but that's something that the Minns government is looking at today. More details later. Allegra Spender, we're out of time. Appreciate your time as always.